Alright, so my opponent's inherency claim is that deporting these immigrants will be detrimental to the United States economy because they supply a large amount of workforce. In actuality, the amount of GDP, which is the gross domestic product of the United States, they actually contribute, the amount they contribute is actually relatively small and has a minimal effect on the economy. From John Brimlow in a prescription for immigration from the Center for Immigration Studies states that the report found that the post-1965 inflow had aggregatedly brought essentially no net benefit to Americans. In fact, the inflow was imposing a significant fiscal cost, perhaps $20 billion annually. And the basic reason for this shocking result is a paradox bias towards less skilled immigrants in the 1965 Act. Their solvency claim is that granting amnesty will benefit the economy. What actually happens is immigrants cause a decrease in wages in the lower skilled job titles. And according to a report by Pew Hispanic Center in 2006, foreign-born workers accounted for 49% of the labor force growth between 1995 and 2005. And when you increase the supply of labor, you decrease the wages for American citizens because there's an excess amount of labor. So whoever basically offers a cheaper price to work for, they will hire them over somebody that wants higher pay. There are two reasons why amnesty will not help benefit the economy. First, illegal immigrants are willing to accept lower wages because they know companies risk employing them. Changing their status to legal would allow them to get paid higher wages and result in a smaller labor demand because companies cannot afford as many high-paying employees. And it was also found in a reading called Increasing the Supply of Labor Through Immigration, and the evidence showed that the reduction in earnings occurs regardless of whether the immigrants are legal or illegal, permanent or temporary. It is the presence of additional workers that reduces wages, not their legal status. When labor supply is increased, wages are decreased, and the number of people living in poverty increases, and the unemployment rates increase. Second, the typical person who would be granted amnesty is uneducated, low-skilled, and does not possess many resources. This type of worker does not contribute much to the overall output of the economy. Since their output is relatively small and they receive more public services, amnesty will actually have a negative impact on the economy. According to my opponent, there is roughly 13 million illegal immigrants residing in the United States, and they stated that they generate revenue of about $10 billion to the economy. And if you do the math, 10 billion divided by 13 million immigrants, they produce a yearly output of about $769. So each immigrant, the amount they produce really does not have a big effect at all. My next piece of evidence says that immigration is causing an enormous cost, and it comes from the FAIR website, and it's Federation for American Immigration Reform. It states that Americans now realize that the cost of our present high level of immigration, legal and illegal, are enormous and growing. The Center for Immigration Studies estimated in 1995 that immigration costs us a net $29 billion a year. Now they say that deporting all the immigrants will completely wipe out the agricultural labor force and textile workers. What they forgot to mention is that recent technological advances have taken the place of low-skilled workers. For example, the Flavor Saver tomato is a genetically altered tomato with a tougher skin, making machinery capable of picking up the tomatoes, eliminating the need for immigrants. Quote from my opponent states that Hispanic immigrants have particularly low levels of education. More than half live in families headed by persons who lack a high school diploma. This evidence proves that immigrants do not contribute much to the economy, and without high education, they have a relatively small economic output. Furthermore, families will need additional assistance because minimum wage jobs do not offer enough income for the families. If we increase the population of uneducated, low-skilled workers, we actually cause an increase in the number of people living in poverty. This comes from the Center for Immigration Studies. States that the purpose of immigration policy is to benefit America. This is a significant innovation, and the current policy is driven by concepts of immigration entitlement, which is like if citizens of the United States have family members living outside the country, they can apply for them to come just because they're family members, and they get citizenship. And then the next claim deals with American security from terrorism. First of all, without the illegal immigration issue, border security would not be as big as a priority. My opponent says that our current laws for immigration takes away resources from stopping terrorism. They said that deportation takes away resources, but deportation actually has a positive effect on deterring future immigration. If you take away resources from deportation, then immigrants will see this as an incentive to come to the United States. For example, a person thinking about immigrating to the United States must weigh the fact that they may get deported. If immigrants know that there is not a risk of deportation, there is nothing discouraging them from immigrating. Deportation is the biggest factor in reducing the number of immigrants coming into the United States. Operation Wetback, which was a federal program enacted by President Eisenhower, deported 50,000 immigrants, and 500,000 of them believed to have left on their own. Basically, Amnesty just proves that we do not have a solution to the problem of immigration, and if we take the easy way out and just give citizenship to illegal immigrants, it does nothing to accomplish the goals of immigration control.